Good evening, Philippines. Welcome to another edition of No Holds Barred, the Manila Times Sports Talk Show. I am Neil Victor Masoy, sports reporter for the Manila Times, a hoops fanatic, and tonight's host and moderator. Tonight, we will going to talk about the upcoming NBA season. As we all know, guys, um, ilang araw na lang, magsisimula na ulit yung bagong NBA season. And so, it's just high time na pag-usapan natin ito. Although lagi naman natin pinag-uusapan ng NBA, di ba? But this time, we'll go a little deeper, di ba? Pag-usapan natin yung mga nangyari this offseason and how will this affect the campaign of the teams moving forward, di ba? Mga things like the Chris Paul trade, will he finally be able to help the Phoenix Suns end their playoff drought? Kasi as we remember, last season muntik na sila makaabot sa playoff, di ba? Nag 8-0 sila sa bubble. And yung signing ba ni Drew Holiday, mag-i-improve ba yung situation ng, makakatulong ba siya, may improve yung situation ng Milwaukee Bucks noon? Also, who wins the trade between Russell Westbrook and John Wall? Sino manalo doon? Houston Rockets ba or Washington Wizards? And then will James Harden, saan na ba siya pupunta? Matitrade ba to? Kung matitrade siya, saan kaya siya team na matitrade? And then also Paul George just signed an extension with the Clippers. And pag-uusapan natin yan, mga contenders for this season and yung mga dark horses. Pag-uusapan natin yan lahat dito sa No Holds Barred. And to give their insights and forecasts, we have as our guests for tonight two of the Manila Times top sports columnists and basketball analysts, Rafi Ledesma and Mike Asi. Welcome to the show, gentlemen, and thank you for being with us tonight.
Unahin po natin yung Los Angeles Lakers, the defending champions. They lost this offseason. They lost Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, Rajon Rondo, and Avery Bradley. But they get the reigning six-man of the year, Montrezl Harrell, and then the runners-up for the six-man of the year, Dennis Schroeder, plus Marc Gasol. Sirs, what do you think of these moves? Are the Lakers are a deeper team now that they have these players? And what do you think of their chances of repeating?
Neil, thank you for the question. No? Number one, of course, I'm not a Lakers fan. No? Alam niyo naman yung suot ko. But really is that the Lakers actually got stronger this offseason. They lost all those players, pero yung mga pumalit na players, Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, Wesley Matthews, actually mas lalo silang lumakas. So if you're talking about their chances of repeating, I can say 95% they're gonna repeat. If they don't have any injuries. Look, no, they've locked down, they have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, they've locked them down already. So you have the core returning. You have the core. You have Kyle Kuzma. And then suddenly, nagdagdag ka pa ng dalawang six-man of the year awardees. So maybe 90-95% the Los Angeles Lakers, masakit man sa loob ko. Mukhang uulit na naman yung Los Angeles Lakers. And yung lamang kasi nila, it's malaki masyado. So even in the mid-season, you will note, I could say that the Lakers, they're probably going to be resting Anthony Davis and LeBron James in all these non-nationally televised games. So they're going to do a lot of, they're basically going to rest their players all the time because Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder can play the whole day. So they're going to be well rested coming to the playoffs. They're stronger. I think that the Los Angeles Lakers, barring any injuries, they're going to repeat. I mean, wala akong nakikitang team who may even, come close, maybe except I'm just thinking about the Clippers and the Los Angeles Clippers and the Milwaukee Bucks, but that's it. No? Otherwise, talagang mag-repeat yung Los Angeles Lakers. Thank you.
Sir Mike?
Well, I wouldn't consider naman yung upgrades yung acquisitions ng Lakers except maybe for Dennis Schroeder. Talagang Kasi nawala din si Rajon Rondo. Uh, but to use the term, nabasa ko, somebody said the Lakers look more professional now than last year. Like for example, Dwight Howard, he's more athletic than someone like Mark Gasol. We have to admit, Mark Gasol medyo mabagal na siya, and yung laro niya medyo pang ano na, it's more of a thinking game. And I think Mark Gasol will only offer limited minutes, hindi siya masyadong gagamitin. But that's okay because we have Anthony Davis. They have a lineup that's more in tune. Yung talagang they're building around LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Yung dati kasi they yung free agency naghihintay sila kay Kawhi Leonard, and then kung hindi pumunta si Kawhi Leonard, they just took whoever was left. Now they can this free agency season, they really looked around and like we have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Ano yung kailangan natin to build around them? Like Marc Gasol is there just for insurance. I believe kinuha lang siya for a possible matchup kay Jokic. If they face the Denver Nuggets again, insurance na lang si Gasol for guarding Jokic, because last playoffs nakita natin si Harrell, medyo kawawa siya kay Jokic. So they're thinking of someone who can assist Anthony Davis in their playoff matches. They're already looking ahead. Hindi sila nakatingin sa regular season. They are already looking dun sa playoff matchups, in the coming playoff matchups for repeating. So Jokic, kung si Harrell lang itatapat mo, hindi kaya. Harrell is good with the other in the regular season, pero pagdating kay Jokic, medyo kawawa siya. So they got Marc Gasol, for the limited minutes na pang matchup kay Jokic. And Dennis Schroeder is last time they needed a lead point guard. And Rajon Rondo was great in the playoffs, pero in the regular season parang paminsan-minsan lang. They got Dennis Schroeder for the entire to make sure that they have someone who can fulfill Rondo's role for the entire season. Kasi nakita mo natin ginawa niya sa OKC. He's a starting quality point guard na. So the Lakers really upgraded on those positions. Now with Wesley Matthews is also added defense for the role of na iniwan ni Avery Bradley. So I guess yes, the Lakers are more professional now, and they're ready, more fine-tuned and ready for the playoff defense na, for the title defense.
I think siguro yung pinakamagandang tanong is kaya ba ng Golden State mag-contend without Klay Thompson, kasi na-injured na naman mga Spurs. Although they still have Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins, and Draymond Green, and then yung second overall pick nila si James Wiseman, recovering sila from COVID, no? So ayun, can they contend this season without Klay Thompson?
Well, to me, the Golden State Warriors, kasi alam nyo si Steph Curry and Draymond Green, no, are on the wrong end of their primes already. They're not, after all these injuries, he's not going to be quick. He's not going to be as good, no. But of course, Steph Curry is Steph Curry. He's bounced back early in his career. He had ankle injuries, no, and then he won MVPs. So hindi ko masasabing kung magko-contend ba sila, probably not. Are they gonna be competitive? Yes, they will be competitive. Are they gonna go all the way? Hindi siguro, because of course Klay Thompson is really an essential part of that team. No? The reason why the Golden State Warriors really beats all these teams from before, no? A couple of years back, is really spacing. Hindi mo alam kung sino babantayan mo. Everybody shoots, right? It's really the spacing, the flow of the game. They just let the shots come to them. So it's hard to beat something like a team like that, no? But now, without Klay Thompson, he's out. Steph Curry coming back from injury. We don't know if his body is still gonna heal and if we're gonna see the old Steph Curry back. You know, he's in his 30s. Draymond Green also the past even before nakikita mo na siya, he's slowing down. He's slowing down. So they'll probably be competitive if for instance si yung sinasabi mo nga yung draft pick nila, 'di ba? Si James Wiseman. If he steps up his game a little, probably, no? Si Andrew Wiggins, 18 points, 19 points, but he doesn't change kasi the complexion of the game the way Klay Thompson or Steph Curry does, no? And of course, Klay Thompson is one of their top, if not their top perimeter defender, di ba? Siya yung palaging nagbabantay doon sa opposing team na leading scorer eh. So malaki yung mawawala sa Golden State Warriors. So this is a team that will come in the playoffs, can probably go deep, but once they go up against the Los Angeles Lakers, the Los Angeles Clippers, baka mabibitin na sila. Of course, they can bring in they can probably bring in more players during the season, but I don't see that happening anymore. So to me, tingnan natin, pero sayang, this was their window kasi for this 1 year na they're all medyo at their primes pa, at their peaks. If magkasabay-sabay silang tatlo, they could have challenged the Los Angeles Lakers. No? Easy, easy. But now, wala. So, wala si Klay Thompson. So, if tingnan mo yung bench ng Golden State, medyo, it's not as deep, no, as say the Denver Nuggets or even you look at the Portland Trail Blazers. No? So, yun lang. So, they'll be competitive, but I don't see them going all the way.
For the Golden State Warriors, malaking sayang talaga for Clay. And analysts say that yung type of injury niya is an Achilles and then ACL first and then Achilles. What you lose there is your ability to move laterally.
Yeah.
So mawawala kay Clay yung defense niya. The shooting will always be there. When Clay comes back, he will still be probably as good a shooter as just like before. But yung movement niya, yung if he can still quickly move around,
Laterals.
makawala dun sa defender, makawala na. And on the other side, I don't think he can still guard the best offensive player the way he does before. Dati, sige, akin na si Harden, akin na si he can take on that. Akin na si Luka, he can defend those players. Now maybe hindi na niya magagawa yon. So who will take on that assignment? Hindi naman pwedeng si Draymond Green ng lahat. I could still see them as a playoff team. The West kasi is very competitive, but I expect in Houston, we don't know what Houston is now, and also maybe later baka pag-usapan natin yung James Harden trade. I think they could still book a playoff ticket, pero to be a contender, like in a 7-game series, we still don't know what Andrew Wiggins can bring to the table. We know he's gifted athletically. He can, like Sir Rafi said, 18 points kaya, 20 points kaya, but is he a game changer? Can he change the flow of the game the way Steph can or the way Clay can, with their shooting? Alam natin he's not really in that mold. He's been in the league 7th year na niya, since 2014. Parang hanggang dito na lang siya. He's a contributor. He can give in the stats, but hanggang dun siya, maybe a third string, a third option, ganun. So with Steph Curry being the first option, and usually Clay should have been the second option. Sino ang second option ng Golden State? Somebody has to step up. And we don't know kung sino yun. We're hoping maybe Andrew Wiggins can make the jump. If not, then doon lang sila. Maybe 7th or 8th seed. And then first round exit, I guess. Hanggang doon na lang. But they will still be more entertaining now. But not a contender. Without Clay, mahirap. I don't see them as a contender.
I mean, I've
All right.
seen clips nga, sir, di ba? I've seen clips of Andrew Wiggins. Eh. If he wants to play defense, he's athletically gifted. Eh.
Yes.
Kaso lang, ayaw eh. Ayaw maglaro. Di ba, he can jump, he can block, he can do a lot of stuff, no? Pero yun nga, sir, ayaw talaga there's no defense no in his game.
So, sunod natin, Phoenix Suns. Ito para sa akin, nung nagsimula yung free agency, kumbaga, ito yung unang huge bomb eh. So, they acquired Chris Paul. Binigay nila si Ricky Rubio, si Ty Jerome, si Jalen, right? Then 2020 first round pick. Sa tingin nyo, sir, mga ano to, was it worth it? Kaya na bang mag-playoffs ngayon ng Phoenix with Chris Paul? Chris Paul on the ball. Last season, pinakita na Chris Paul, kaya niyang malit yung Oklahoma, di ba? Nakaabot sa playoffs, and then they challenged the Houston Rockets. Tapos lang. So ngayon ba, kaya na ba? Chris Paul, we have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and then DeAndre. So, what do you think? Sir Rat?
To me, no, syempre, if you watch the bubble, no, in the Orlando bubble sa NBA, nakita mo nga na the Suns, no, actually went unbeaten eh,
Yes.
in that Orlando bubble. So, you
Season.
already have all these young superstars, no, DeAndre Ayton, you have Devin Booker. So, bringing in Chris Paul, a veteran presence, would probably they can probably are now maybe the top six Western Conference teams for the NBA, no. So they're really trying to kumbaga, they're really trying to make that leap. If Chris Paul plays the way he played last season, they probably are going to make that leap. So, yung Phoenix Suns, they're gonna be more exciting. This gonna be faster, no? This gonna be faster. A Devin Booker, Chris Paul combo is probably one of the best, if not the best, backcourt tandems, no? In the entire league at this moment. Of course, CJ McCollum, you have Damian Lillard who will contest that, no? Pero itong I think that the Suns are built for the playoffs, but yung realistic expectations natin, they're gonna make the playoffs definitely. But ang nakikita ko dito this is now the time, no, for Devin Booker to step up eh. Devin Booker is a complete player, no. To me, Devin Booker can actually become his MVP candidate material eh. 'Di ba? So a guard like Chris Paul could probably unleash that eh. So, yun. So, ang Phoenix Suns, they're gonna be a top 7, top 6 in the Western Conference. As Sir Mike nga said, the Western Conference is tough, no? So, even if you upgrade to a Chris Paul, even you have upgrade to a top 3-point guard with their current lineup, hindi pa nila kakayanin sa Western Conference. Exciting, yes. Playoffs, yes. Contenders, no. So, that's all I have to for the Phoenix Suns.
I agree with Sir Rafi. The Suns have with Chris Paul, they have a chance to maybe to win a playoff series in the West. They could make the Final Four if you consider the lock in yung top 3 sa West as the Lakers, the Clippers, and Denver and the Nuggets. Titingnan natin kung sino may open slot pa for who would be number 4. And yes, I would think that a Chris Paul and Devin Booker tandem would be one of the best backcourt combinations. Lalo na yun, hindi nabuo yung Steph and Clay. Dapat sana yun ang
Yun yung number 1.
yun yung tandem to beat. Wala. So it's a chance. It's actually a golden chance to see how far they can go. They have a star in Devin Booker. Yun ang pinakamahirap hanapin sa NBA. That's you keep on drafting every year. You look for a star, and now you have a star in Devin Booker. So you need to go all in And that's why you get a player like Chris Paul. Kaya nga hinahabol din niya ng Bucks. Eh. They need to go all in. And a player like Chris Paul is the one you need to go all in. If they didn't do that trade, they kept Rubio, they kept Kelly Oubre. They would have been a playoff, maybe playoff team number 8, but they would definitely not get past.
The first round.
You'll be matching up with the Lakers or the Clippers. Papay lang. Ganyan, this experience lang. Ganyan. So with Chris Paul, you're giving yourself a chance to match up uh, and move on to the second round. Depende siguro sa kung sa standings, kung sinong ka-match up nila, they can move on to the final four in the West. Mm. Uh, with Chris Paul. They have 2 years more of Chris Paul on his contract. Maybe the last 2 years ng prime ni Chris Paul. After that, we don't know how he's gonna look like. But I guess it's worth it. You have to take that chance, or else yung Devin Booker mo, yung superstar mo, will end up, after his contract. Ayoko na dito. I wanna go to a contender. I'm not winning. At least you gave yourself a chance to win, to fight, and I like that move. The Bucks wanted Chris Paul, and nakuha ng Suns instead. So they are the ones uh, giving themselves a chance to move up.
Next team natin, mga sirs, Los Angeles Clippers. So, alam natin yung nangyari last season. Medyo medyo disappointing eh. No? Second round exit na naman. They go another 3-1 but as they say, pass is fast. Ngayon, as we all know, wala na si Montrezl Harrell but they have Nicolas Batum and then Serge Ibaka. So, what do you think, guys? And also, ayun nga, Paul George signed an extension, 5 years, about 190 million. So, anong masasabi niyo sa
Sir Mike can take that first naman. Sir Mike, go ahead.
Sir Mike?
Thank you, Sir Rafi. Well, for Clippers, like I said, as a Lakers fan, di ba, they kept last season they kept taking shots at the Lakers. So yeah, I even wrote a column about that, about Clippers and their well now they're starting to think like, what is Paul George worth talaga? Many, actually, even the Clippers fans are not happy dun sa pag-sign ni Paul George. Kasi I mean, they needed to do that. I feel like they needed to do that because that's their way of trying to keep Kawhi. Kasi Kawhi's contract will also expire. Actually, both Kawhi and Paul George's contract would have expired at the end of this season. So parang the Bucks, yeah, they needed to win. If they didn't win, they pwedeng umalis na si Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and the Clippers will be left with nothing. Pati yung draft picks nila, they went all in. Binigay na nila lahat. So at least they would have Paul George, for this extension. No matter what happens, they have Paul George. Kung ano man si Paul George, will he be the Paul George of the the Indiana Pacers who went head to head with LeBron James, or will he be Paul George in the bubble na nag-crumble? But at least they have something instead of Paul George just leaving. I mean, at the very least, Paul George could be a trade asset. But now I like the Serge Ibaka move. They got Serge Ibaka. I actually wanted Serge Ibaka for the Lakers. So score one for them again. Siyempre si Kawhi, teammate niya yun sa Toronto, so maybe they had a bond. So pinili ni Ibaka yung Clippers. That's a good acquisition for them. But the thing is, Ibaka is not your low post threat. They're looking for a main low post, main big man, and they thought Harrell would be their main big man, but he wasn't in the bubble. In the regular season, okay, but who is their main big man? That's a problem for them. The Lakers have their Anthony Davis. Who is the main big man for the Clippers? It's still not Serge Ibaka. Serge Ibaka would have been a great complementary piece for Anthony Davis. So good one na nakuha nila yun. Ibaka is better than Harrell, I think. But he is not a main big man. He's not better than a match for Anthony Davis. So I think that would be their main challenge. And did they actually improve as much? They're still looking for a playmaker. Yun ang needs nila. The playmaker is Kawhi somebody who can carry a team by himself? Is Kawhi a leader? Can he make his teammates better? He's a great player. For me, he's definitely a top 5 player, even he's probably a top 3 player. But can he carry a team? He needs to have Paul George to be the Paul George before to be able to do that. If not, I think the Clippers will. They can still. They're still strong enough to be a top 4 team in the West.
Rafi,
Okay, Sir Rafi.
Ako naman for the LA Clippers, really it's all about uh, in the past few weeks and days. No, I'm sure that Sir Mike has read this. I've read it, and I was actually shocked na nalaman na yung Los Angeles Clippers had a lot of locker room issues. Okay, so ito yung a lot of the players in Los Angeles nagrereklamo kay Kawhi Leonard tsaka kay Paul George because they were being given preferential treatment by the coaching staff. In fact, there was even a report saying na si Kawhi Leonard had a say in the substitution patterns. Kailan siya magpapasub at sinong sasub sa kanya. So there were a lot of chemistry, I'd call it chemistry issues in the locker room. And I think that's why they really, what do you call it? In our parlance, we call it they choked, diba? Versus the Denver Nuggets after taking that commanding 3-1 lead. That's a choke. And to put it simply, that was very embarrassing, nakakahiya. I mean, this is a franchise that hasn't gone to the NBA Finals in what, 50 years? Buffalo Braves pa to 1970 pa to So 50 years, they've never won a Western Conference Finals too. So this is a team so hyped, so strong, and yet they're always producing zeros. No, even back to the days of Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, diba? They had all these powerhouse teams, DeAndre Jordan, and now here it is again. So to me, if they have these locker room issues, it continues. No, they probably won't get past the second round. I'm good with the Serge Ibaka. I think they also got Nicolas Batum, no? They got Nicolas Batum, so that gives them added depth dun sa 3 and D players nila And it's a very solid team, but it has to come together. That's why they took out Coach Doc Rivers because nga daming chemistry issues, nag-iinggitan sila sa team. They bring in Tyronn Lue. Okay, so si Tyronn Lue naman, is he a better coach than Doc Rivers? On the technical side, hindi ako sigurado. But from a perspective of managing egos, he's probably better because you've managed the biggest ego of them all, and that's LeBron James, and you brought him to a championship, right? So in terms of ego management, this guy is the perfect coach for this team, no? Which has Kawhi Leonard. I mean, Kawhi Leonard kasi is not a vocal person. He's not a vocal leader. No, you don't see him screaming on the court like Kevin Garnett, diba? He's a leader, yes, but he's not very vocal. Paul George, hindi rin siya ganong klase Hindi siya ganong klaseng player. So, this team needs more leadership from their 2 top players. This team needs better coaching, more on ego management so that yung ibang players, Patrick Beverly, all these other players, hindi tayo magkakainggitan. All these players who've been in the team for far much longer than both. No? So, they will contend. They get their chemistry issues right before the All-Star break. This team will be deadly because this is the only team I can see that can actually go toe-to-toe with the Los Angeles Lakers. No? If they're humming, they have full of chemistry, this team can do it. But, yun nga, that's the number one thing that they need to address. So I think the coaching decision also to replace Doc Rivers, good. Wala na gas-gas na si Doc Rivers di ba? So very strong team, can beat the Lakers, can contend for the championship, but they need to fix up their chemistry issues first and foremost.
Yes, Miami Heat. Di ganun kaingay, but they signed Adebayo to a max contract.
Yeah.
Then they re-signed Goran Dragic, si Kelly Olynyk nag-opt-in. And then wala na si Jay Crowder, but they got Avery Bradley naman pamalit.
Maurice Harkless. They got Maurice Harkless, yeah.
And then this team is, nagkaroon na ng experience sa finals. May na, di ba? May kumbaga kakayahan na. Ano sa tingin niyo mga sirs? Ang mayayari sa Miami? Sir Michael.
Miami will definitely get better. Well, bias natin dahil Pinoy, but coach, we saw Coach Eric Spoelstra, iba naman talaga. He's really he has been underrated all the time kasi when he coached the Big Three, parang sabi nila, look, you're coaching the Big Three, how hard is that? But the truth is, as we mentioned, ego management is also a big part. Hindi nga kaya ni Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers has had great teams. They had like Chris Paul and Blake Griffin at his prime. Walang nawating, di ba? When you compare it to what Eric Spoelstra has done with Miami, now they have Jimmy Butler, and then si Bam has already secured his contract. I think this team is already, they're good enough. They, even without the context na parang kung makukuha ba nila si Giannis or hindi, even this team itself is already great. And I think they're also the favorites in the East, although they're looking at, even now they're already looking at Brooklyn, and they're already looking at Philadelphia as they're ranking it higher. They're ranking them higher than the Heat. May mga power rankings. They're ranking the Heat as number 4 or number 5 lang sa East. But I believe sanay naman sila sa ganyan. They're always underrated, and then they overperform. I'm really looking at Tyler Harrell, and his development. I think he can be. They're molding him to be like what Klay Thompson is to Golden State. And if they do that, imagine they can have their own 1-2-3 punch. Like Bam is already like probably the best big man outside of Anthony Davis, and then you have Jimmy Butler. So under Coach Spoelstra, and they have that. And so I think they can be top 3 in the East. I'm honestly to say I'm not so sure about Brooklyn. To be honest, many people are high on Brooklyn, but I think Miami is a better team than Brooklyn now.
I agree with that, Sir Mike. Itong Miami Heat nga, of course, no, si Eric Spoelstra, of course, Go Pinoy. He is one of the first coaches, really, who brought in statistics into the game. I think he's very analytical. He's the first one to introduce so many concepts to the game. Na tipong, if you're gonna shoot on the elbow, left or right, ano yung percentage mo? So mas left ka, diyan ka lang shoot. So parang he's very analytical, and as you said earlier about ego management, he was able to manage the ego of Jimmy Butler, right? Aside from, of course, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, But isipin mo, Jimmy Butler is such a, how do you call it, a very explosive personality, very vitriolic player, very emotional. But he was able to rein Butler in and make him lead the Miami Heat, di ba? To a finals appearance. Nobody saw it coming. I didn't see it coming. Kasi ako parang, Miami Heat? Di ba? And suddenly, they come out, they play, and they were competitive with the Lakers for a couple of games. Di ba? Akala ko nga, mukhang may tulog to. Di ba? So, to me, the Miami Heat are gonna, how do you say it? They're gonna be in the top, no, in the East. But are they gonna bulldoze over all these other teams right now? Tingin ko it's not gonna be that easy as it was when they did that in the bubble. Hindi na siguro ganun kadali. Because of course in the bubble, there were a lot of factors in play eh. 'Di ba? Kasi sa bubble, alalahanin mo you're away from your family, you're all alone, you don't have fans. 'Di ba? So parang ibang-iba yung bubble. So there's so many factors, no, that came in during the bubble. I think kaya rin 'di ba sina Paul George, kaya rin they had bad performances, no. Pero I think what we should look out for the Miami Heat this season is really the development of Tyler Hero, and Bam Adebayo. If those two start talagang Tyler Hero, if he becomes yung borderline all-star, and if Adebayo continues his development, I think the Miami Heat are in a good position to lord it over the East. Because as of now, they didn't change their roster that much. As you said, they got Avery Bradley, Maurice Harkless. Of course, I'd always like to have Jay Crowder, no? Kasi uso na kasi ngayon sa league talaga positionless eh. So you'd like to stock up on a lot of forwards, no? A lot of forwards who can play, who can guard 3-4 positions, can shoot, space the floor. So Miami Heat probably in the top 3. Pero hindi na sila ganun ka how do you call, mas dominante kaysa sa dun sa bubble. But I really like their chances. Yun. So, yun lang naman. I think Pat Riley is one of the more savvy executives. He gets what he wants. Isipin mo, he was able to form that big three a few years later. Tahimik lang siya. Tapos, kept on getting na naman assets. Tapos ngayon, he finally ran for a championship, di ba? For a shot at the championship. So, Miami Heat will still be there, Sir Neil. Yun lang, Sir Neil.
Hindi natin papatagalin, sir. Doon na tayo sa team mo. Boston Celtics. Ayun.
Can I take this
Gordon
one
Hayward,
first?
Yes, please.
additions. Jeff Teague, Tristan Thompson. Then, of course, nandiyan pa rin naman yung Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
Ano, coach? Ano, sir? Sabi mo.
I actually didn't like that move na kinuha nila si Tristan Thompson. Personally, they had a trade with the Indiana Pacers. They had a trade with the Indiana Pacers for Miles Turner and Doug McDermott, another shooter. Hindi nila kinagat. Okay? Hindi nila kinagat. That was a Gordon Hayward for Miles Turner and Doug McDermott deal, and I think a second-round draft pick. Hindi nila kinagat and replaced that with Tristan Thompson. Miles Turner is miles away from Tristan Thompson, di ba? In terms of, Miles Turner can even shoot. So medyo as a Boston Celtic fan, no, medyo nasaktan ako na hindi nila nakuha si Miles Turner. And because of that, but still, these are good additions, no? Tristan Thompson, Jeff Teague, Aaron Nesmith, the rookie. He's a shooter, so he's okay. He's gonna be okay. Pero ang laking nawala sa kanila is really Gordon Hayward and Ince Kanter. If you want to spin it in a positive light, no, yung pagkawala kasi ni Gordon Hayward means that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were further developed. They'll have more time. Wala nang Gordon Hayward because Gordon Hayward plays exactly the same position as both of them. Diba? And another lookout now is, of course, the knee of Kemba Walker. Okay, so he's injured. No, it looks to be a recurring injury. Si Kemba Walker. So without Kemba Walker, the Celtics, of course, cannot compete. No, cannot compete deep into the playoffs. And the only thing that's good with the Celtics now is that they have this $29 million trade exception for Gordon Hayward when they transferred it to the Charlotte Hornets. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng trade exception na yon? The trade exception kasi really allows them to the trade exceptions allows teams that are over the salary cap to trade for a player without having to trade for their own players. So they have $29 million in reserve. But because of the hard cap of $138 million, they can probably just use $20 million. So they have $20 million to play with to get a good role player or a borderline superstar, no, starting today. No, they can already use that, no, the $29 million trade exception. So Danny Ainge, medyo, we call him Trader Danny kasi nga madami siyang diskarte. So I see that they're probably gonna use that. They're gonna let the team run now, no, as it stands, the roster, and towards the end of the trade deadline, dyan na sila maghahanap ng player in the range of $15 million, $20 million. Maghahanap sila ng last piece nila in their run to the playoffs. Okay, so that's what I think is gonna happen. Competition-wise, the Celtics can be among the top teams in the in the Eastern Conference. They have been the top team one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference for the past few years, no. But they don't have the horses to take them over the top. When you come in come on, you come in the NBA Finals, kalaban ko si LeBron James or si Kawhi Leonard, labo, di ba? I think that they need one more player. That should have been Miles Turner, na talagang medyo all-star, no, to take them over the top. So they were unable to do that. So look for Danny Ainge, no, to trade for another to acquire another player towards the end of the trade deadline. Okay? Pag magawa nila yon, they have a chance. If they don't do it, this team as is cannot compete in the NBA Finals. Top team in the East cannot compete in the NBA Finals. So yun lang. They have good rookies. No? Nakikita ko yung mga I've been looking at all these rookies. No? Kinukuha nila na rookies, puro mga shooters. They're all shooters. They're all mga 3-and-D players. So we'll see. We'll see. So yun lang, Sir Neil and Sir Mike, about Team Green.
Yes, I agree with Sir Rafi. Yung Miles Turner trade talaga, for akala namin go na yun and it's a perfect situation. Even for Miles Turner himself, he hindi siya masyado na develop sa with the Pacers because I think they were asking too much of him. They were asking him to be the focal point of the offense. Pero he's not really built that way. And if he played with Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, he would have unlocked his potential, I think, for Miles Turner. So okay na sana yun. And then I feel like they didn't really need Gordon Hayward that much anymore. So and in the playoffs, yun yung naging weakness ng Boston. They really needed a better big man than Daniel Theis.
Sir Mike, sorry Sir Mike, I mean Tristan Thompson? I can't get over it, sorry.
Yeah, they were desperate kasi because they didn't get Miles Turner and they didn't seem like they didn't have a plan to get somebody else. So in the market, si Thompson na lang ang nakuha nila. So that's something, that was really a loss for Boston. I think they would have really won that trade. But it was good they got something for Gordon Hayward, who would have walked away as a free agent. Again, that's Trader Danny. Magaling talaga, nakaka-discount pa din. And in the trade deadline, there would be teams that are looking ahead. Yung mga teams na they feel like they're a contender, and then sa trade deadline, wala, hindi pala kami contender. So they will look towards the future, trying to free up salary cap space. They're going to give up a veteran for that trade exception, for that extra cap space. Yan, you can see how good Danny Ainge is pagdating sa utakan na ganun in terms of planning ahead. He didn't get the trade that he wanted with Miles Turner, but he has a plan B, and he managed to get something from that Gordon Hayward. Uh, from Gordon Hayward instead of just leaving in free agency for nothing. May nakuha pa din siya. So, ganun talaga kagulang si, si
Medyo
Danny Ainge.
magulang talaga. Medyo magulang talaga.
Um, that's the way it is. The like I mentioned, yung winning on the court is not just hindi lang naman sa court yung it comes with getting good front office, good executives who will who will make that good product, who will form that good team. So I think Boston has it. I think Boston can be a. I still think they're a top three team. I've been a fan of Jason Tatum since college. Sabi ko nga sayang di kinuha ng Lakers.
Pwede sa Lakers yun, sir. They had the first round draft pick at the
They were
kinuha nila
number
si
2.
Lonzo Ball. Diyos ko.
I really, ang sama talaga ng logo, tapos sa Celtics na napunta. So, Jason Tatum is really a foundation player, and I like Jaylen Brown. I like Marcus Smart. They keep saying that a team needs a dog. Marcus Smart is a dog. Talagang he gives the toughness and then nakaka-contribute din sa offense. So, like I said, he's the player na yung si Patrick Beverly wanted to be. That's smart. He's a dog, and then he can he's a good contributor in offense. So okay na yung wings position nila. They're really stacked in that. They really didn't need Gordon Hayward anymore. So sayang talaga if they manage to flip Hayward into a big man. But they have to move on. And who knows, maybe before the trade deadline, they could get somebody. Mura lang naman na centers ngayon, and the trade value for centers is low. So they could probably get somebody to become players in the playoffs. Ayun lang.
Si Anthony Davis na lang, sir, trade mo sa amin.
hawak na nila.
Lakas nun, lakas.
Hawak na sa leg ni LeBron with the
nga eh.
clutch.
Galing.
Talagang clutch talaga.
Ano yan, sir? Actually, tingin ko nga the Lakers might probably win 3 more championships. Kaya pa eh.
Yeah.
Kaya pa. He can outpace Jordan yung 6 championships. Kaya niya mag-7, tingin ko.
With Anthony Davis and then...
with Anthony Davis, kaya.
Gusto kong i-discuss yung yung trade ni Westbrook at ni John Wall. Pero bago yan, saglit lang. Brooklyn Nets muna tayo. Ayun, maglalaro na finally. Kyrie Irving and then Kevin Durant. Anong masasabi niyo sa team na to?
Hindi ako masyadong high sa Brooklyn Nets. Okay, because number one, remember yung an Achilles tear to Kevin Durant, diba? As Sir Mike was mentioning earlier, he might not come back the same. Diba? So, hindi na siya ganun ka-life, ganun kabilis. Okay? And si Kyrie Irving also has a lot of injury history. So, they're joining a team, they're 2 superstars, feeling nila basta nagkabangga na yung superstars, kaya na nila ipanalo. I don't think so. I think that this Brooklyn Nets teams, they're gonna have a lot of chemistry issues because nga, we have... How do you put it, no? Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, they're both oddballs. Okay? When I say oddballs, medyo wala sila sa world eh. Medyo Kyrie Irving is an oddball. Kevin Durant is an oddball. The only reason Kevin Durant won those 2 championships is because kasama niya si Klay tsaka si Steph Curry. That was pure talent. There was no coaching involved. There was nothing there, di ba? Pure talent, nanalo sila. Okay? I mean, so Ngayon, you're gonna have a problem. Who's gonna lead this team? Right? Because both are, feel nila, alpha dog sila. Silang dalawa. Okay? I mean, they're great players. Magagaling talaga sila. They're in the top 5, top 7 players. No? But I think their personalities down the line may clash. For me, I think they're gonna clash down the line itong Brooklyn Nets. Because yun nga, as I said, they're oddballs. On paper, alam nyo ba that the Nets, I think, has the best roster in the league? On paper, if you look at their lineup, they're deep. You have, they even added Landry Shamet, Jeff Green, and now, ang problema lang ngayon, syempre yung coach mo, first-time coach, diba, si Steve Nash. Diba? But Steve Nash, I think, will be a good coach for them, not just because of his experience as a player, but because Steve Nash, if you recall, diba, the 8-second offense of the Phoenix Suns before, naalala nyo ba yun? Under Mike D'Antoni, diba? Steve Nash,
Yes.
si what's the name of the center? Amaris Stoudemire, di ba? They had to shoot the ball in 8 seconds or less. So eksakto to kay Kyrie Irving and Durant, no? If the offense will go like something like that, na mabilisan, shoot as many baskets as you can, shoot as many three-pointers as you can, good for them. But the Brooklyn Nets, I think, will not yet be ready to compete with the top Eastern Conference teams. I would be surprised if they did so. Yun nga, chemistry issues, deep team, tapos syempre, of course, like sina Dinwiddie, lahat yan medyo mag-aaway-aaway yan mag-aaway-aaway yan once yung dalawang superstars are nagmamando na sa court. Diba? So, I don't think they're gonna be in the top 4. They're gonna be in the playoffs definitely. But I am waiting for an implosion from the Brooklyn Nets before I could see anything moving forward. So yun lang siya. Ganun lang yung Brooklyn Nets ngayon.
For Brooklyn Nets, yes, I also don't believe in kasi people are thinking that they would be the top of in the East. Medyo mahirap kasi yung situation nila ngayon is similar to the situation that the Clippers Clippers were in last year. Diba? They overperformed nung wala pa yung dalawa. Then that's where Harrell and Beverly, si Lou Williams, they had Danilo Gallinari back then. Nag-overperform sila. So that attracted the superstars. The same thing, nag-overperform din yung
Brooklyn Nets.
Caris LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie, Jarrett Allen, Joe Harris. Nag-overperform din sila. So ngayon may superstars and they're not gonna get the same playing time, the same touches. How will these players react? Like Caris LeVert used to be the star, naka-average siya almost in the 20-point range. He's not gonna do that now.
Joe Harris, dude.
Joe Harris. Yeah.
Joe Harris.
So mawawala na lahat yun. How are they gonna heal? And then the injury history also. Yung iba kasi there's no such thing as paper champions. I mean,
yeah.
Ang lakas sa papel. Durant, Irving. How are they gonna be on the court? Like, we haven't even seen Durant. Is how much in percent ni Durant? Is he 80% the KD before? We don't know.
Torian Prince, meron pa silang Torian Prince backing Durant. Grabe.
Yeah, they really have a complete team. They have a center in Jarrett Allen. So, DeAndre Jordan nga nandun.
DeAndre Jordan pa nga.
Still there. So, they really are deep. Kaya lang, and then we have Steve Nash. Well, they chose Steve Nash specifically because he's like a player's coach. Hindi sila masyadong, pakikisamahan lang sila. Because, yeah, that's right. KD and Irving are really have these egos. We don't know kung gaano ka okay ang samahan nila because if you look at LeBron James and Anthony Davis, napakaganda ng samahan nila. Like Anthony Davis really looks up to LeBron and LeBron is ready to mentor Anthony Davis to become the franchise player. Walang clash okay na okay ang relationship nila eh. Is it gonna be the same with Kyrie and Kevin Durant?
No, it won't.
Yun lang. That's the question for yun lang. That's the question for Brooklyn.
Tama natin yung yung trade na ni Russell Westbrook and John Wall. Yan ang una kong tanong, is this ganda ba to para sa Rockets? I don't know kung mag-i-stay pa si Harden. But John Wall, nakuha nila. Tapos may Cousins. And anong masabi niyo for the Rockets side bago yung Washington? Na Westbrook and Bradley Beal back. Muna tayo sa Houston.
Well, yung kay Westbrook and John Wall, it's a trade of I wrote it's kind of like a loss trade as opposed to a win-win trade. Well, parang in a way, parang damage control na lang talaga for both sides. For Houston, I feel like Harden is really on his way out. Kaya siya nagtatampo ngayon. He was really expecting that he would not be in Houston right now. Wala na si Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey was his number one fan, his number one supporter. With Daryl Morey, they gave Harden everything. Like almost complete control of the team. Ayaw mo kay Chris Paul, sige. Gusto mo si Westbrook. They gave him everything. And to be fair, Houston naman, they went up against a juggernaut in with Golden State. I mean, personally, I think that Golden State team was maybe even more powerful than the Miami Big Three in terms of talent. So, talagang ganon, hanggang doon lang talaga sila. But, and Daryl Morey already left. So, I believe James Harden didn't feel like, bakit pa ako nandito? I should be gone as well. He wants to join Daryl Morey with in Philadelphia. But the thing is, hindi naman yung choice ni James Harden. So, I feel like that's why he's making these issues na ayaw niyang attend ng practice and all that. Although he did today, I think he already attended practice already. Wala siyang magagawa. I mean, there's $40 million.
Kontrata.
So, I think the Westbrook Wall trade was just for Houston, they just wanted to get rid of Westbrook, and for Washington, they also wanted to get something. They have a franchise player with Bradley Beal, so they wanted to make sure they have something with Beal. Parang wala talagang, it doesn't move the needle for each team. Parang doesn't make much difference if the trade didn't happen. Doesn't really ganun pa din. I don't feel like there's much to change. Talagang they just needed to do it, for the sake of doing something.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. The John Wall, Russell Westbrook trade, it doesn't move the needle for both teams. Number one, alam nyo, statistically, halos pareho lang yung dalawa na yan. Di ba? Of course, lamang lang si Russell Westbrook sa rebounds. No? Pero statistically, they're the same player. Okay? I think there's a slight advantage for Houston if John Wall reverts to even 90% of his old self after all these injuries. Why? Because si Russell Westbrook kasi, remember they brought in Russell Westbrook with the Houston Rockets. Kasi friends sila noon ni James Harden when James Harden was in the Oklahoma City Thunder di ba? So they brought him in, but remember kasi si Russell Westbrook always needs the ball. He's a ball hog. Dupang siya na tao. I mean, that's the truth. Like James Harden. So ngayon, may dalawang dupang sa team mo. I mean, let's be honest, no? That didn't work because Russell Westbrook, while with all his athletic activities, triple-double every night, at the end of the day, he needs the ball always in his hands. But he's not efficient. Did you see his three-point shooting? Way below the league average. Did you see his outside shooting? Walang outside shooting si Russell Westbrook Si John Wall may konti, Pero in terms of 3-point percentage, I mean they're both in below below the averages. So now I don't know. Of course, if Harden now is going to stay with Houston, I also believe that he's on his way out. 'Di ba? When a star tells you aalis na ako, aalis na 'yan. 'Di ba? Pero ang problema naman kay James Harden is that saan siya pupunta? Ako if I were if I were in that position, if you were a team owner, you would not trade away your future for a 31-year-old ball hog. 'Di ba? Kasi pag nilagay mo 'yan sa team mo, sa kanya yung bola. And he's 31 years old. And James Harden, he's one of the few players na kahit hindi masyado na-injure, he's got a lot of wear and tear already. Kasi ganun siya maglaro eh. Saksak, he's always on the free throw line, he's always banging bodies. So he has a lot of wear and tear. No? So to me, well, kanina actually I was able to watch that clip of John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins playing. Yung nagpa-practice sila kanina. Of course, DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall are old teammates with the Kentucky Wildcats. No? So ano yan, vibes yung dalawa na yan. So kanina, nakita ko I was looking at their practice session, okay sila, but they're not yet 100%. They're not the John Wall that I used to know. And I don't think that DeMarcus Cousins will ever come back to the DeMarcus Cousins of old when he was once considered the most dominant big man in the league. Hindi na yan mangyayari because of all his injuries. So, the trade really, as Sir Mike said, it doesn't move the needle. Parang, ano ngayon? Walang nangyari. So, that's all I have to say to that. Wala namang talaga nangyari in terms of balance of power or may gumaling ba na team. Ganyan. Walang nangyari doon.
Quits lang sila.
Diba? Sums it up. Sorry. Said too many things about that.
I want you to give me your top 3 contenders sa West, and then one dark horse team, and then top 3 contenders sa East, and then one dark horse.
For the West, it's top 3 is still Lakers, Clippers, and Denver. And dark horse team, I'm not sure if Phoenix na. I would still think it's Portland to be the dark horse team. I think they got some good pieces. Alam naman na, it's always the foundation is still Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, and they added some good pieces to support them. Then they have Nurkic, so yeah, I think they would be better. In the East, I would still go for Miami, Boston, and of course the Bucks would still be there. As long as they have Giannis, they will be at least a top 3 team in the East. Dark horse, very aggressive yung Atlanta. Medyo they could sneak into the playoffs, and if they have a good matchup. They're young, they're hungry, they have the full support of the owners. Yeah. Atlanta is a team to watch. Yeah.
For the Western Conference, of course, no questions. It's the 2 LAs, Los Angeles Clippers, Los Angeles Lakers. They have 2 of the most complete lineups. They have superstars. They have studs. Almost impossible to beat. I think the Nuggets are going to take a step up. They're going to be the number 3 team. They're very deep, and if they continue, I'm actually looking at Michael Porter. Pag yun talagang pumutok, wow, hirap talunin ng Denver Nuggets. But of course, they lack experience, so hindi pa siya. This is not their time. 2 years, 3 years down the road, I think, should be the Denver Nuggets' time. In terms of dark horse, I actually have 2. Portland, they got a lot of pieces. I like the Robert Covington acquisition and the Enes Kanter acquisition. Enes Kanter, of course, wasn't utilized in Boston. Pero yung dalawa na yon, I think they will add to one of the best backcourt tandems in the league. So that's number one. And hindi siya dark horse. Yung second team ko naman, hindi siya dark horse but more like underdog just because I like Luka Doncic. Uh, I like the way he plays. He's a foundational player. I think he's already MVP caliber. He's probably gonna be the best player in the league in a year or two. He's putting, I mean, look at his stats: 29 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists every game, and he's young. So parang I feel that the Dallas Mavericks have an outside shot, but of course, ano kasi yun eh, kumbaga when you say dark horse, that means yung top 3 mo may problema or magkakaproblema, right? For the East naman, also the top 3, Boston Celtics, you have the Miami Heat, the Milwaukee Bucks. But my dark horse for the East really is, I think the Philadelphia 76ers can compete. Why? They got rid of Al Horford, which really does a lot for their spacing problems. Last season, it was a pain to watch the Philadelphia 76ers. Pag nakikita mo sila nagsasabay, Diyos ko parang bumabagal yung game. No? But now, yung sinabi nga ni Sir Mike, no, si Daryl Morey of the Houston Rockets is now with the Philadelphia 76ers. So now this guy can wheel and deal. No? He's a wheel and deal type of guy. And what does he do? He gets Seth Curry and who's that other shooter that they got, Sir Mike? They got and they got Danny Green, no, from the Los Angeles Lakers. They also got Dwight Howard. No? They have a new coach, and now you have a lot of shooters with the Philadelphia 76ers because of course Simmons cannot shoot, Embiid cannot shoot. So now biglang madami ng shooters ngayon yung Philadelphia 76ers, and I think that will do wonders for their offense, wherein before you would see a lot of stagnation because they only had 1 or 2 shooters on the floor. Now they can spread it. Now they can compete with the other teams. And when you have shooters, you have more open court basketball. I think that plays well with Simmons and Embiid. So yun yung dark horse ko sa yun yung dark horse ko. Of course, Atlanta's going to be a competitive team, Sir Mike. I agree with you. But the dark horse for me is the Philadelphia 76ers. Under a new coach, Doc Rivers also. So yun siya, Sir Neil.
Last question na tayo mga sirs. Itong kasing NBA season na to, no, hindi siya nakabubble eh. So, though there are protocols naman, health protocols. Pero paano sa tingin nyo magpapano itong season? We learn players na nagkakaroon ng contract ng COVID, James Wiseman, Draymond Green. Paano kaya magpapano itong season na to na walang bubble? So, thoughts nyo lang doon. Sir, ikaw muna, Sir.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of disruptions in this season. So hindi siya magtutuloy-tuloy. You will have games wherein 2 players will have COVID, then and nobody can play, right? So to me, hindi siya magiging maganda na season because there's going to be a lot of disruptions. Hindi siya magsusunod dun sa schedule na pinakita ng NBA. In fact, they're only coming out with the initial schedule eh. 'Di ba? Kasi meron pa silang second schedule na ilalabas because in the interim between the 2 schedules, doon nila ipi-play yung mga missed games. 'Di ba? So what does this do for players? Dahil hindi tuloy-tuloy, walang predictability, what's gonna happen is that players will not be competing every night, 'di ba? So parang there will be players na ngayon okay, tapos ay bukas wala pala tayong game. Good time muna tayo sa gabi, 'di ba? Mga ganun 'yan eh. So I really feel that hindi naman ugly, but there's just gonna be a lot of disruption. So it's a little bad news for us fans, no? Kasi yung mga nationally televised games, lahat tayo, 'di ba, inaabangan natin. Tapos isa lang, kahit yung trainer or isang tao lang, they're exposed to COVID, wala na siya. So I think that the NBA naman is trying to do what it can, no? Aside from the protocols, I've read some of the I'm not sure kung kailan nila makukuha yung vaccine. But hopefully everybody gets vaccinated so we can all watch our favorite game. No? We want to watch the NBA. We want to watch it daily. And hopefully we can watch it. Kasi talaga ang daming mga storylines that we want to see unfold. No? We really want to see them unfolding. And if may mga disruptions, hindi natin makikita yun. So, yun lang naman. Hopefully that we get a good NBA season. Thank you.
I agree. Kaya nga nila minadali yung start because they're
Hmm.
anticipating na may mga ano yan. There could be bumps along the way. I know their goal talaga is to bring back the schedule. Gusto nila matapos ulit ng June kasi last time yung nag-match up yung finals ng NBA versus an ordinary game with the NFL, talo yung NBA. So, iniiwasan din nila magkasabay sa NFL. They want to have the season to finish before the NFL season. Kaso, yeah, I understand that there could be infections, there could be disruptions talaga. But I believe in Adam Silver. I think he's a very good commissioner. I think they'll find a way. They'll find a way to finish the season somehow, and then yeah, really hope for the best. That's all. I guess that's all we can do. Kasi in terms of the pandemic, talagang nobody has control over that. Not even the NBA or even the government. So let's just hope for the best.
Thank you po for watching